She says if it wasn't for her blonde... World War II began because Germany was in poverty, and one man decided that it was the perfect time to spread his idea of the ideal race. The ideal race consisted of blonde hair, blue eyes, and being Christian. The ones who weren't the ideal race were persecuted, and those were Jews, gypsies, handicaps, and homosexuals. Germany's idea of the ideal race spread throughout surrounding countries in Europe. Poland was one of those countries. Warsaw is the largest city in Poland. Dvora Kirschenbaum was born in Ottawa, Warsaw, Poland on December 10, 1930. In 1939, World War II spread to Poland, and Dvora's life was changed forever. It began with a few personal items being taken, to having members of her family go missing. Dvora had 6 sisters and 2 brothers. Her father was a cantor, rabbi, and a shochet. In school, she studied both Christian and Judaism. This helped her later to get out of certain situations. November 16, 1940, was when the Warsaw Ghetto was closed off, with the Kirschenbaum family inside. Dvora's house was surrounded by empty lots. This empty space, along with holes dug in the fences, helped her escape the confinement of the ghettos. Because of how she looked, with her blonde hair and blue eyes, it was easy for her to escape and blend in with the people in Warsaw. Dvora went into the city to buy bread and water and other necessities. She says if it wasn't for her blonde hair and blue eyes, she would never be here. Although all of her siblings had blonde hair and blue eyes, her dad sent her out alone because he knew she was the smartest. Dvora was sent to travel by family members and people she was staying with to different ghettos and houses. She went to hide in the ghetto her brother-in-law was in. He would hide her as a pillow because the German soldiers would come search to see if anyone had either snuck in or out of the ghetto. They brought German shepherds. Dvora would always hide in the 3rd bunk bed. One of the German shepherds stood up on the 2nd bed and stared at her. He did not bark once. Another interaction she had with a German shepherd was when her and her sister were hiding with a lady. After 2 weeks, the German soldiers would bring German shepherds to find the Jews. Many people were scared to house Jews because if the dog would sniff them out, the soldiers would kill them and their family. After 2 weeks, the lady told them that she was scared and that they had to leave. They begged her to let them stay. The lady told them to hide in the outhouse because the smell would mask their smell. She was right. The German shepherds just passed on by them. After being alone for a while, Dvora decided it was safe to go back to her parents in the ghetto. So she went back. She climbed into the ghetto and skipped all the way to her mom and dad. Then she saw Nazis. Her parents yelled at her to run and run fast, and she listened. She had trouble climbing up the fence, and all of a sudden, she saw a Nazi right behind her. She looked the devil right in his eyes, and because she didn't show fear, he thought she was just another Polish girl that got lost. So, he helped her over the fence and let her go free. One time, she went into the forest to hide. There were 3 ways she could go: straight, right, or left. She chose left. As she was wandering around, the sand began to move. But she thought to herself, there aren't any earthquakes here. But she didn't care, and she just kept walking. Later on, she found out that Nazis used to shoot men in the forest, and they would leave them half alive. dead, and the men would move on the ground. After walking for a while, she reached a street and saw that it was where her old maid lived. She asked her if she could stay, and she said, of course. She stayed with her for a while. Another woman she stayed with told her how to get an ID. She told Devorah to go to a cemetery and look for a girl around her age and remember everything on the tombstone. When she went, she found a girl 3 months younger than her, so she engraved every detail on this tombstone. She took the information she remembered and went to go get her ID. After she received her ID, she went to work as a housemaid. She was working for this one lady for 2 weeks, but all of a sudden, she found out that she was Jewish. So, Devorah had to leave. Devorah found a new family to work for. She went and knocked on the door. When the lady answered, she looked her up and down and said to her, "You're too young to work." Devorah was smart. She told the lady that she'll work a month free, and if she wasn't able to do the work, she would leave. One night that she was there, Devorah had a strange dream.
I must tell you, when I went away from the first place because she said I'm Jewish and I kind of ran away, when 2 weeks were up, I was sure that she's going to ask me the same thing. And this is very important. I was really scared. Would you believe my father came to my dream? I didn't know what happened to him, but I didn't see his face. He was over 60, and he had a praying shawl over his face. And he talked to me just like I am here. I was sleeping. And he said, "Boilala," and spoke Yiddish to me. "Don't be afraid, because I'm guarding over you when you'll be in danger." I said, "No, Daddy, I want you to take me with you. I don't want to be here. I'm scared," he kept saying. "Don't be afraid, because I'm watching over you when you'll be in danger." And I kept saying, "Please take me with you. I don't want to be here." And he kept saying the same thing. And about the third time, he was moving backwards. And I wanted to get his capote, but in a dream you can't run. You can't move like that. I started screaming.
America later on got involved in the war and saved many people, but unfortunately, they couldn't save everyone. Hitler committed suicide on April 30th, 1945, and Devorah, now known as Dorothy, moved to America, got married, had children and grandchildren, and now lives a wonderful life teaching people her story at the Museum of Tolerance.